It's going to be a Bible thumping morning. Don't run away. I want to share some fascination with some Bible stories and lessons and how they're used in the Unity way. And I'm going to say a little bit about me as a background and how I got here. I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains in the Southern Baptist Church. And I had some challenging things going on back home, so I just ate up all that somewhat traditional, a little fundamental, but more just traditional Southern Baptist Christianity. And that went really well until I got to college. And someone that I loved and trusted used that religion to betray me. And not only did I feel betrayed by that person, I felt betrayed by the religion. So I left that religion. I left Christianity that had meant so much to me. I was so deep in grief. And I started searching many other spiritual paths, broad and deep, and I got a lot from them. I searched the Native American, I searched the Celtic Druid, I searched the Jewish mystical Kabbalah traditions. I got really caught by Kuan Yin and the Buddhist traditions. And I still use and practice some of those very things today. And I even, during this time of searching and throwing out Christianity, unexpected one day, Jesus came to me in this powerful vision that changed my life forever. And so I included Christianity. And during that time, people would say, "Are you a Christian?" And I would say, "Yes, but I'm not just a Christian." And then I would say, "I believe all the spiritual traditions are just fingers taking us up to the hand of God. And I love unity because we embrace and honor and respect all those traditions." So, about 4 years ago, I think now, I came to Unity, and long story short, got on the Future Ministers team, and I'm now in a Unity seminary in my second year. And there are lots of courses I just couldn't wait to take, but there were 6 required Bible courses that I did not want to take. Oh, gosh. But I'd signed up for it, so I said, okay. And guess what? I am loving studying the Bible from the Unity way. Unity's founders, the Fillmores, were Christians, but they combined the Christian teachings and the Bible and their own, my goodness, channeled from the divine wisdom to do the Bible in a different way than what I grew up with. First of all, like traditional religions, we see the Bible historically. It's a story, but guess how Unity defines the Bible? It is the story of the generation, the degeneration, and the regeneration of humans' relationship with the divine. Isn't that a good definition? And why degeneration? Well, the Jews were human like everybody else, and they kind of bumbled and lost their way. The other way that Unity sees the Bible and the teachings in it as a great myth. What are myths? Myths are stories that survive over time because they have a universal message for humans and the human experience, no matter what time, including for us today. Probably one reason that the Bible is still the #1 best-selling book on earth. I didn't know that either. And there's more. There's a third bonus. Unity also interprets the Bible metaphysically. And that is seeing the whole story in the Bible as a story that's going on inside ourselves with all the places and names having metaphysical meanings. One really simple metaphysical explanation is the 12 disciples. We believe we have 12 powers inside, and each of those powers is represented by one of the disciples in the Bible. That's a very simple metaphysical explanation. Now, as a psychotherapist who studied Jungian psychology and uses some of that in my psychotherapy practice, I ate this up because metaphysical Bible interpretation is a lot like interpreting dreams from a Jungian perspective. So, because I'm passionate about this and I feel called to bring some of this to Unity, to our little church, I'm going to start today with some talking about some stories from the Bible and what we can learn from them. This is an experiment, and so however it sits with you, let me know. If you think, oh, God, don't do that anymore, let me know. If you like it, let me know. I know I'm stepping out on, I'm doing something a little new here. Okay? So the first part of my talk is going to be called Falling Upward. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to say more about that later. The Bible story, I'm going to talk about two Bible stories, and the first part's falling upward, and the second part is dead bones. So the first part is found in 2 Chronicles 36, verses 15 through 23, if you want to go look it up somewhere. And I'm just going to tell you the story. So the Jews had been delivered to the land of milk and honey. And I don't know about you, but when I was a little girl and they had those Sunday school stories, they were cherry-picked. We got the Jews getting to Canaan, the land of milk and honey, but the story stopped there, and we did not talk about how much trouble and how they strayed from the ways of God when they got there. And remember, on their way, they were stuck out in the desert, and Moses went up on the mountain and got the 10 commandments. And the first commandment was, thou shalt put no gods before me. And you are my chosen people, so if you stick with me, I'm going to protect you and take care of you and give you safe passage and everything. That was the first commandment. Well, the Jews got to Canaan, and they forgot about that one. And why did they forget? Because there were other people and other religions there. There were religions that built these big, fancy golden idols, and there were some religions where they had these priestesses that dressed up really pretty and really sexy. They were very enticing. Some of the Jews married them. Some of the kings in Israel allowed some of these altars to be set up in the sacred temple in Jerusalem, including King Solomon, who's supposed to be such a great king. He had some women in his harem that said, please, please, he's okay. So, what? Just like that. So the people turned from God. And God felt compassion for them, so he sent the prophet Jeremiah to tell them that they needed to change their ways. They needed to come back to their God. And what the people do, they mocked him. I think Jeremiah had a little speech impediment on his, or some shyness or something, so the people started mocking him. Well, God didn't know what to do. So this one verse says, the wrath of God against his people became so great, there was no remedy. So he brought up this king from Chaldea, and he killed off some of the people in Jerusalem, and all the other people in Judea, he rounded up and he marched them up to Babylon. And they were in exile for many years in Babylon. Now, what kind of story is this? The wrath of God? Well, I was having to interpret this story metaphysically, and I thought, wrath of God. I'm going to have to write my Bible instructor about that. How do you explain the wrath of God? Maybe this was just the Jewish people and they weren't that evolved yet to get it. Or, gosh, maybe God needs to go to some anger management classes. But no, then I remember, no, we believe God's all good. So what is the wrath of God? I'm going to tell a little bit more of the metaphysical metaphysical part first. So killing off all these people, men and women, metaphysically, we interpret that men are thoughts and women are feelings. So the first thing that the divine does is he destroys inside of us a lot of thoughts and feelings that keep us away from making contact with the divine. Put no other gods before me. What does that mean? How do we put other gods before God? Well, it could be addictions, alcohol, food, sex, TV, workaholism. Most of these things aren't bad things unless we abuse them in an attempt to satisfy that yearning for spirit. It could be thrill-seeking. It could be laziness. It could be greed and exploitation. Those are ways that we can put other gods before us. We can be caught up in all those things. We can miss our disciplines, our daily prayer, meditation, our journaling, the things that keep us in touch with the divine of us. And we can make fun of that voice inside us, that Jeremiah that says, hey, come on, you don't need to be doing, I'll get back to my practice as soon as I finish this big project at work. I have a lot of clients in my couples work with that. They're in big trouble because of that. Sometimes we just don't listen. We just don't listen. And it takes more. But God's wrath? How God's wrath that had these people taken away to exile in Babylon? Well, I thought there's not going to be anything. How am I going to look this up in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary? There were 2 pages about God's wrath. And so what it says is that God's wrath is a loving correction from the divine of us. A loving correction when all else has failed. Babylon is an inner place of confusion, and where those not so useful thoughts and feelings can kind of sit inside of us, because the divine knows that if we keep working with it and the divine keeps working with us, our higher selves will eventually work these things out. We'll reconnect and know what we need to do, how we need to practice our spirituality, how do we need to get back in touch with the divine of us, our deepest yearning, really. Can you relate to this? We get disconnected with spirit for one reason or another, and we have all kinds of confusing thoughts and feelings that take us further from that connection, and so we just kind of sit in a place of confusion for a while. Well, the Jews are in Babylonia for many years, and they start to feel really despairing and really depressed. And this next story I'm going to read is, the second part of this is about dead bones. One of the people who was really depressed was the prophet Ezekiel. And maybe I think he was thinking, are we ever going to get home again? I want to go back to Jerusalem. I want to go back to Judea, our home. Are we just going to forever be in Babylon? So the Spirit of the Lord, the divine of him, came and set him down in a valley full of dead bones. Dead bones. And God told Ezekiel to prophesy to those bones and say to them, hear spirit. He said, hear the word of the Lord. I'm going to translate to, hear the spirit in you. What's the metaphysical lesson here? Well, Ezekiel's a powerful prophet and a part of us that knows the truth and speaks truth to us about spirit and encourages us to place our full trust in spirit. It means God strengthens. The valley is a low point in our lives. The valley of dried bones can be those uninspired, depressive, or even despairing times in our life. Raise your hand if you've been there. I've been there 6 times. I was counting as I was getting ready for this. Started when I was a little girl. And God tells Ezekiel to prophesy. God tells us part of ourselves to speak the truth to these dead parts of ourselves. And then God says, I will cause breath to enter you, and you will live. Breath is the life-giving winds of spirit, the activity of God in us. The word inspire comes from the Latin to take in spirit, in spiritus, inspire. In summary, when we've gotten away from spirit and we're living a state of confusion and our lives can feel in part or totally dry and lifeless, we're depressed, we're despairing, when we put our full trust in that I am, that divine in us, and speak truth to those parts of us, the life-giving breath of spirit brings these parts in us fully to life. Christian mystic Richard Rohr wrote a book called Falling Upward. And he says, Sue knows it. Yeah. Anybody else read that book? It jumped off a shelf to me. And it says that if we are blessed and if we're seriously on a spiritual journey, that at some point in our life, something is going to happen that will take us to our knees. Could be an illness, could be a death, could be a divorce. What else? Anything, any one of those things? Anything? Loss of job. Yeah. Divorce. Yeah. That this is an important part of our psychospiritual development. Chris and Stan Groff wrote a book called Spiritual Emergency. And it says it's a term that describes a collision between how we've been living and our longing for our true self and the sacred to emerge. So that is part of our spiritual development if we're lucky enough to experience it. We would never choose it. And sometimes we think and we feel that we're never going to live through it. We're not going to survive it. And when we come out the other side, we're deepened, more wise, more alive, and more in touch with the divine than we were before our fall. Therefore, falling upward, falling down on an upward spiral is part of our spiritual growth. Oh yeah, and here's one other thing I have to tell you. So I was writing about this, doing my homework, and we had to reflect on it. And I said, well, okay, this means that if I'm a good girl, that's always my default position. I'll be a good girl. I'm still working through that trauma. Anyway, if I'm a good girl, I'll just do my practice every day, and I'll stay in touch with God every day, and then I won't have no more of these, right? Well, there's another reason we have them, and we can see that in the story of Moses. Now, Moses fled Egypt, well, actually because he'd killed an Egyptian who'd killed, beaten badly this Jewish man, so he had to get out of Dodge quick. So he had his own falling upward. He went through the desert alone. It was a very difficult, challenging journey, and he got to this other land. I can't remember the name of it. But he found a wife. He got married. He was a shepherd. He had enough money. Everything was good. And God appears in a burning bush and said, you got to go back to Egypt. You got to go through that desert again. You got to go back to Egypt, and you got to free all the slaves from the Pharaoh. That was his falling upward, because that was a hard job. He had a speech impediment and God says, I'll send Aaron to help you out. Don't worry about your speech. Me? I like my life and my sheep. So, so sometimes when we're too complacent, we also get this falling upward from the divine of us. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes now and take part in a meditation about this very message. Close your eyes. Relax. Allow the chair to support you. Take several deep breaths. And let you know or feel some aspect of your life where you have or are feeling some confusion, some disconnection from the divine. Perhaps you feel some depression and some despair. Some problem that seems overwhelming and hopeless. Let you be in touch with that. And now holding that feeling, that problem tenderly in your heart. That place where the Ezekiel of you, that place where God strengthens. Imagine yourself, like Ezekiel, standing in a desert. And as you hold those areas of your heart, where you feel some confusion, some hopelessness, some overwhelm, this problem is too big for me, I don't know how I'm ever gonna get rid of it. Just take a deep breath, and as you exhale, feel yourself releasing this. Good. Blowing out actively like Victoria just did. And do this 3 times. Releasing it. Maybe just a feeling. Or you may have a word for it. And in that release, you make room for new life. And you see yourself standing in the desert surrounded by dead bones. See those bones. Feel the desert wind. Smell the sage. And begin to blow on those bones, picking out particularly one set of bones. And blow on those bones from the heart space of the divine of you. You can again blow loud, blow loving spirit into those bones. And those bones come alive. They start to glow and they don't look all ashy anymore. They look robust and more the color of alive bones, glowing bones, as the Spirit of the Lord makes those bones come to life. We have that in us. And then guess what happens? Sinew comes along and muscles and coats those bones. And then it's a whole skeleton with sinew and muscle attached and skin. Then comes and covers those bones, and the head takes on a face, and my goodness, that face looks like yours. That body looks like you. Maybe the you want to be, maybe the you are, but that body glows from inside with the life and love and glow of spirit and aliveness, without hopelessness, without overwhelm. And that body starts walking toward you, and something just moves you to walk toward that body until you merge. And sit in that body, full of spirit, full of knowing I don't have to do this all by myself. I am in the divine, and I have infinite possibility, and I will be guided. Full of hope and expectation and love and the glow of spirit. You are enlivened. And I want you to sit for a moment and just let these feelings seep in. Let these feelings of liveliness sink in. And will you do the words to this part, Ernest?
Full of pride in a world made of steel, made of stone. There was nothing but a slow glowing dream, and your fear seems to hide deep inside. All alone I have cried silent tears full of pride in a world made of steel, made of stone.
And now I want you to stand up in that new body. Please stand up and rise. And I want you to come out into the aisles and dance the new life that you are in this new body.
I'm feeling, believers believing, I can have it all, I can dance for my life. Take your passion, make it happen. You can dance right through your life, through your life. What a feeling, leave us bleeding. I can have it all, I'm dancing for my life. Take your passion, make it happen. Picture comes alive, dancing through your life.
take that new life and live it. So, yes, I'm just going to finish with the words, l'chaim, to life. Thank you.